everyone, and thanks for tuning in for today's crochet tutorial. So I thought with Easter right around the corner, why not make a really cute carrot peeker, as I'm calling it, potted plant. So this is made in two separate pieces, and the whole idea is that you can harvest and then replant your carrot as many times as you want. So I thought it would look really cute in an Easter basket, or even as just a gift for a garden or green thumb oriented friend or family member. So let's go ahead and get started with the materials that we're going to need. So for today's tutorial, you're going to need orange worsted weight yarn for your carrot, dark brown for the dirt that goes inside the pot, light brown for the pot itself, and then a light green for the carrot's leaves. You'll also want to use a 4mm crochet hook. I just bought myself a new pair of really sharp scissors for cutting your threads, and then a tapestry needle. I like to use a really sharp metal one, but you can use the blue or pink plastic ones. And then you'll need just a little bit of fiberfill stuffing because the carrot is stuffed. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so we're going to start off with our light brown yarn and our 4mm hook and begin on the pot. So for row 1, we need to create a magic loop and then put 6 single crochet in that magic loop. Alright, once you have your magic loop, you can pull the tail from your magic loop to close it, and then we're ready to start on row 2. So for row 2, we're going to increase in each stitch all the way around. Alright, once you finish row 2, I like to cut the tail left over from my magic loop at this point. This starts to get really annoying as I spin around and around. Alright, we're ready to start row 3, which is going to be 1 single crochet in the first stitch, and then an increase in the next stitch. I also like to start marking my rows here. And then we'll repeat that pattern all the way around. So 1 single crochet and then an increase. Okay, for row 4, we're going to slip stitch to our first stitch from row 3 and then chain 1 stitch. And then we're going to be working in the back loops only, which is just this side of the stitch, and we're going to be placing 1 single crochet in that back loop only. This is going to help the pot sort of take shape. So I like to use back and front loop only stitches as like direction changes. So you're going to continue working in the back loop only all the way around until you get back to that chain 1. Okay, when you reach the end of your row, we're going to put a back loop only single crochet in the same stitch that chain's coming out of. And then we're not going to put anything in that chain. We're actually going to skip over it and start our next row in that first single crochet. So that puts us in row 5, and row 5 through row 10 are just single crochet rows. So you'll only be single crocheting in each stitch all the way around. And that's going to build the height of our pot. Alright, I've just finished row 10, so I'm ready to move on to row 11. So we're going to be working in the front loops this time around of row 11 because we're going to be creating the ridge that we add the soil onto later. So the front loops are the loops that are closest to the surface of the work. we're just going to be adding a single crochet in each of those loops. So do that all the way around until you reach your first stitch. Alright, I finished the last front loop only single crochet for row 11, so I'm ready for row 12, which is just going to be to single crochet normally, no front loops, no back loops, just through both, all the way around. Alright, so I've just finished the end of row 12. So to start row 13, which is the brim of my pot, I'm going to slip stitch to the next stitch, the first stitch of row 12, and then I'm going to chain 2 and turn my work sort of like I'm upending the pot so that I can work in the front loops only of row 12. So I'm gonna half double crochet in the front loop only in all of the stitches all the way around the edge of the pot. Alright, so I've reached the end of row 13. So I'm ready to start the last row of the brim of my pot. So to begin, I'm going to slip stitch the top of that chain 2 that we made last row. Then I'm going to chain 1 stitch and then single crochet in each of the half double crochets I made last row. So you're going to do this all the way around until you reach that chain 1 that we just made. Alright, so to finish the top of the pot and the pot itself off, we're going to slip stitch not to that chain 1 that we made, but actually to the first single crochet that we made last row. And then we need a little bit of a tail to work in, so take your scissors and cut, probably about 4 or 5 inches worth of tail, and then pull through and pull to tighten. Then we're going to take a tapestry needle thread it with that tail, and then we're going to just hide the tail and work it in to that half double crochet row. So I kind of slip it behind all of those stitches and then pull. And then we'll take our scissors and then just snip that tail to weave it in. Alright, so that is the pot completed. Next we're going to add the soil on the inside. Alright, so we've finished our pot, and next we need to add the soil. But before we do that, we kind of need to get access to the back loops left behind from when we made row 11, the front loop only single crochet from the pot. We need to get to those stitches, and they're kind of buried inside the pot. So if you sort of roll the brim of the pot down until those, if you can see that ridge on the inside of the pot, that's the row that we're going to be working on. So roll the pot down until those stitches are on the surface. That makes it really easy for us to access them. And then with your crochet hook and your brown yarn, we're going to attach directly to those stitches. So it doesn't really matter where you start. I'm going to just pick a random place. Go ahead and insert your hook from front to back, so straight through the fabric. And then grab your brown, yarn it over the hook, and pull through to pull up a loop. So this short end, I like to work this in as I go. So I make sure it's long enough to work in. So once you've pulled up that first loop, we're actually going to have to pull up a second loop because that's going to count as our first single crochet of this row. And then the next stitch we need to make is a decrease. So we're going to go through the second loop left over from those front loop only single crochets, pull up a loop, go through the next loop left behind, pull up a loop, and then pull through both to make our decrease. So we're going to repeat one single crochet and then a decrease all the way around. So be really careful because when we made our half double crochet row, we also left some loops behind. You don't want to accidentally work in those loops. They're the ones that are further inside the pot. I know I sometimes have a bad habit of grabbing those instead. Just be really mindful when you're working. So we're going to repeat this same pattern of one single crochet through the loop and then decrease all the way around until we reach that chain one we made to start. Alright, so I've reached my last decrease and I have just the space between my last decrease and my chain one. So I'm going to put a single crochet in where I made that chain one. And then to seal this row off, I'm going to skip over that chain one that I made and then just slip stitch to the top of the decrease to close off the soil. So once you finish that, you're going to cut a short tail about the same length you did for the pot, maybe 4 or 5 inches. And then we'll take our hook and pull through to fasten off. Then we're going to tighten by pulling that loop closed. And then we need to weave this tail in. So to do that, thread your tapestry needle. And then sort of like how we did with the brim of the pot, we're just going to hide the tail inside of the dark brown stitches that we've got. Alright, I've weaved it in. So I'm gonna cut. And then now we need to fix the brim of the pot since we sort of rolled it down. So kind of just push the soil down into the pot and make it so that the brim's half double crochet loops are at the top. Alright, we've finished the pot and the soil, so all we have left to do are the carrot and the leaves. Okay, so let's get started on the carrot. We're going to need some orange yarn, and we're going to start with a magic loop, but this time we're going to be putting only 3 single crochet inside of it because we want the tip of the carrot to be really pointy. So my advice when working with a 3 single crochet magic loop is to make the first 3 single crochet stitches that you make sort of looser than you might normally make your regular single crochet, because it is a little tight working with just 3 stitches. Okay, so once you've got your first 3, pull that magic loop tail tight, and then we're ready to move on to row 2. So row 2, we're going to increase in the first 3 stitches that we've made. And then you're going to notice your work's going to sort of try to concave on itself. We need to push those 3 single crochet out and to the front. So don't forget to do that. Okay, so there's the first 6. Moving on to row 3, we're going to be putting 1 single crochet and then an increase in the next stitch all the way around. It's going to give us 9 stitches total. Okay, once you finish row 3, we're going to cut the magic loop tail at this point because it gets a little annoying kind of wiggling around. All right, and then we have row 4 through row 6, which are just single crochet rows to build the height on our carrot. So you're going to put 1 single crochet in each stitch for all of those rows. Okay, so I've just finished row 6. So before I work row 7, which is my last row, I want to stuff my carrot a little bit. So before I stuff, I like to kind of push both fingers in and stretch the inside of the carrot to kind of help reinforce the shape. And then you don't need a ton of stuffing, just a little bit to stuff the inside of your carrot. So try to focus a lot of it towards the tip of the carrot to kind of help it be pointy. All right, carrot stuffed. So let's work row 7. So row 7, we're going to do a 1 single crochet and then a decrease, and we'll do that 3 times total. All right, so to finish off, we're going to slip stitch to the next stitch and then cut a medium length tail, 4 or 5 inches like we did last time, and then pull the loop up to close. And then we need to fasten our remaining 6 stitches. So thread your tapestry needle with the orange tail. And then we're going to sew through each of the last 6 stitches. Once you've done that, pull your tail to cinch closed. And then we're going to tie a knot. And then weave our tail end in by sewing through the fabric of the carrot. Right, once you've done that, you can cut that tail close to the body. And you've finished the body of the carrot. So now we just need to add the leaves. All right, so last, we need to make the carrot's leaves. So to do that, we're going to tie a slip knot. And chain 4 stitches. Once you have 4 stitches chained, for row 2, we're going to put a single crochet, another single crochet, and then slip stitch to the slip knot we tied. And then for row 3, we're going to chain 4 more stitches, and row 4, we'll turn, put a single crochet, another single crochet, and then a slip stitch in our last chain. To finish the leaf, we're going to slip stitch into the last row's slip stitch. So we need to grab this loop here, and then the back loop of the slip knot we made, and we're just going to slip stitch those together, just like that. Then we need a long tail for the leaf because we're going to sew this one onto the carrot. So cut about 6 or 7 inches. And then we're going to weave in both the tail left over from the slip knot and the tail that we're going to sew with through the last stitch. So pull those both through and then tighten them both. So that's the completed leaf for the carrot. Okay, so now we need to attach the leaf to the carrot. And since we're going to be pulling the carrot out of the pot by the leaf, we need to do a pretty good job securing this so we don't end up with just the leaves of our carrot. So first we're going to thread our tapestry needle with the yarn left over from our slipknot, so the shorter slipknot yarn. So thread that through. And then we're going to sew that in first by going straight into the magic loop of our carrot, or the cinch that we made to seal our carrot off. Send that tail straight down through to weave it in. And we're going to just leave it for now, but that sort of helps position the leaves so we don't have to pin them on. Alright, so to sew the leaves on, we'll take that tail left over, that our needle, and we're going to sew the leaves by going underneath and through to the back. And sewing a stitch. And then to anchor them on, because we're going to be pulling the carrot by these leaves, take that tail and put it between where the leaves split, pull it tight, and then sew another stitch underneath the leaves like we did before. When you pull this stitch tight, it's going to cinch the leaves down on top of the carrot and help hold them on. Right, so now that we've sewed the leaves on, let's go ahead and tie a knot and weave in the tail by sending it down through the body of the carrot. And if you pull really tightly, you'll take the knot down into the body of the carrot with you. Alright, so let's just snip these tails. And that is a completed carrot, which means now that we have both parts, we are officially done. So you can put your carrot inside the pot. I like to kind of twist mine and then sort of pull to wiggle the dirt up over the top of the carrot. And to harvest, you just grab it by its leaves and pull it out. Alright, so I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. I think these carrot peekers are perfect for Easter, which is just around the way for me right now. So, thanks for watching.